Hi, I'm Vanessa Boukili. I'm the Senior Urban Forester and Landscape Planner for the City of Somerville. Today is National Arbor Day, April 26th, and we're here at Bailey Park looking at some tree pruning. Barrett Tree East is here volunteering their time and expertise in arboriculture to help us clean up this park. Pruning, also known as tree trimming, is cutting away specific branches of a tree to benefit the whole tree's health. Each tree has specific pruning needs, which are best determined by certified arborists. But in general, a tree's pruning needs are dependent on their growth habit, size, and species. Most commonly, pruning is done to remove deadwood, which is any branches or wood that's no longer alive. Signs of deadwood include lack of leaves and buds and/or sloughing bark when the bark's falling off of the branch. Deadwood can be brittle and may break off if it's not removed. We also do pruning to remove damaged, diseased, or broken branches. These branches are no longer providing benefits to the tree, and they can be access points for rot and pests, so it's better to remove them. We also remove downward growing branches because these branches tend to have limited access to sunlight, so they're not providing a lot of benefits to the tree anyways. And especially when these downward facing branches are growing in the way of a pedestrian route or in the way of traffic, we want to make sure that they get removed so that they're not hit. We also remove branches that are crossing or growing into one another. These branches rub against each other in the wind, which can cause wounds. And these wounds can become larger and larger over time and can be an access point for decay, organisms, or pests, so they should be preventatively removed. We also do pruning to clear branches away from utility lines and from properties. It's important to prune tree branches away from these overhead utility lines, both for public safety reasons and to avoid power outages. Additionally, branches that are touching buildings are often pruned back to prevent the limbs from scratching the paint or from causing water to pool on the building. Another type of pruning is called young tree training. This is used to encourage proper structure and form of young trees. This involves removing limbs that are too low to the ground, limbs that are growing towards the center of the tree, and any crossing limbs, as well as subordinating any limbs that might be competing with the dominant leader. Properly trained young trees are less costly to maintain and are less likely to have catastrophic branch failure in the future. Fixing the structural problems of large trees is much more difficult, more expensive, and it's harder for the trees to recover. Properly trained trees are not only more attractive, but they also tend to live longer. Poor growth patterns, if you don't fix them early on, can't always be corrected on older trees. Pruning of dead limbs can occur at any time, but for structural pruning, it's best to do that in the winter or early spring for most species. Especially deciduous species, you can see the structure of the canopy better when there's no leaves on it, so you can do a more thorough job. Arborists use the 3-cut method to prune off branches, both for safety reasons and to prevent the bark from being ripped off the trunk. The bark is essential in closing off the wound. If the bark gets ripped off, the wound may not heal properly. If this wound doesn't heal, it can become an access point for disease and decay. For the 3-cut method, you start by sawing a notch on the underside of the limb about 6 to 12 inches away from the trunk on the branch you're going to remove. You saw about 1/3 of the way through the limb. Then you saw from the top of the limb about 1 to 2 inches further down on the branch. You saw all the way through the branch until it falls. Finally, you want to carefully remove the remaining stub, cutting just outside of the branch collar and the branch bark ridge. It's very important to saw this last cut in the right place so that the wound can heal. That sums up the basics of pruning methods. Thanks again to Barrett Tree East for volunteering their time to clean up Bailey Park. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, you can email me at trees@somervillema.gov. Thanks a lot and happy Arbor Day.